I'm Bree.
And I'm Hannah.
We met through our shared obsession with romance and fantasy novels.
And honestly, we haven't stopped talking about books since.
Each week, we're sharing what we're reading, sharing our opinions,
and spilling all the tea about our lives.
So whether you're here for book recs, hot takes, or you just want to hang out with us for a bit,
you're in the right place. We're also talking about life, sharing our highs and lows,
and having the kind of conversations we'd have over margaritas.
Welcome to Chapter Chats.
Hello, welcome back to Chapter Chats.
We missed you guys. It's been a few weeks. Not intentional.
Nope. We just had a lot of things happening. I was basically dying for like 3 weeks.
She had a man cold.
Yeah, literally. Probably worse than a man cold. I was such a little baby, but it is what it is.
Bree does not do well with illness.
No, or pain, or anything that makes me uncomfortable.
The slightest discomfort is a no from Bree.
A very low pain threshold, and that's just what it is.
Which honestly surprises me, because I feel like with all the volleyball you used to do, you probably got hurt a lot.
Yeah, I think it's weird. It's like pain in a volleyball game. I feel like I have separated from life pain. I was diving into bleachers and the metal poles and all kinds of stuff. And I remember literally one time I had strained my back and I still played. I just stood at the net without moving. And so I'm like, I've done it before, but maybe I have PTSD and I don't want to go back.
I feel like I have a fairly high pain tolerance, but I feel like that was largely born from dance.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a fun time to be in point shoes and stuff. My feet would bleed. I got ingrown toenails constantly, injuries, the whole shtick. But the whole thing there is you're not competing, so there's nothing else to figure it out. Grin and bear it.
I feel like there's so much adrenaline when I was playing volleyball because I'm obviously a very competitive person and my school team really freaking sucked. And so I was the only, not that I was the most amazing volleyball player ever, but
you were
I was the best player on my team. Yeah. And the only one who really knew what she was doing. And so I just had adrenaline all the time that I couldn't feel my bones. And then, 3 weeks later, I'd be like, oh my gosh, my body is hurt.
Turns out that wasn't good for me.
Yeah. But that's also why I have so many problems. My shoulder, I ripped my rotator cuff and it's all screwed up. My back to this day is still messed up. I've twisted my ankle so many times that sometimes they just give out. And I those things where you press the bottom of it and there's that's what it's like sometimes with me. I just crumple.
You're also klutzy.
Yeah. And I just fall regularly.
Because of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of things working against me, to be honest.
Yeah, I've gotten I feel like I don't get a lot of little injuries. I feel like every time I hurt myself, it's pretty
catastrophic.
Major. Yeah.
You're I'm bedridden for 3 months. Literally. Whereas I'm just gotta ice my ankle again for the 40th time this week.
Replacement and sprained my back. Who does that? Not even doing anything cool. I was going upstairs.
Can't even tell the story.
I'm still mad about it. Anyway, I'm sure you guys missed us. Welcome back. Do you want to do your high and low?
Yeah, so my high, if you have listened to any of our episodes, is that I'm buying a house and I got pictures this week that it's all framed out. The roof, the sides, the walls are up, everything's framed up. So the next step is they were supposed to put the roof on today.
Ooh.
So we should be getting a picture of that later. Yeah, so it's getting closer.
So someone from the site sends you pictures as they go?
Mm-hmm. My lady who I
and you also go over there a lot to spy.
Yeah, I'm a stalker. Yesterday I went through and I drive by and I was taking a picture and all the construction guys were looking at me so weird and I was hello, that's my house. I was I just gotta take a little picture.
If you think about it, I'm kind of your boss.
Yeah, basically. So, and then sometimes I'm okay, Brianna, you've gone over 3 days in a row. Obviously not that much has changed in each day.
You're this time, they'll be putting in appliances.
Yeah. I'm what if it's done? So, yeah, it's really
exciting. They wanted
exciting.
to surprise me, and I can move in right now.
Literally. Although it does look, I was I'm such a stalker, as we've established through multiple means over the course of this podcast and our friendship. But so this is basically a big neighborhood of starter homes, and so multiple houses are being built at the same time. So the 3 houses, mine and 2 others, were all started on the same day. And originally, the projected completion date online was, I think, July 25th. Well, the other day I got on, and the house next to mine now says that its projected completion date is July 2nd. And so I messaged my little realtor lady. I was hey, is mine going to be done early? And she's it's possible. She's probably who is this psycho? I'm hello, it's me.
She's no, we're actually delaying it.
Literally, I was I just saw this online.
While I was casually looking.
Yeah.
As one does.
So yeah, my house might be done earlier than we thought.
Probably not, though.
I'm just gonna live in the exciting. It is dope. There's a good chance it won't be because it is storm season in Oklahoma. Who knows what'll happen? But we haven't had any in a while. God would.
Yeah, don't announce that too loudly.
So yeah, but the roof is supposed to get on by the end of this weekend, and they're supposed to send me another picture, and then the next step is putting electricity in. So
exciting.
I can't wait. I also got all my furniture this week. So
where is it?
At Annie's mom's house.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, put it in the barn.
No, it's at their house at the lake right now, but she is going to be bringing it up in the next couple weeks and putting it in the barn. She also gave me a guest bed and a shelf and counter stools for my kitchen.
That's nice. Because are you taking any of your furniture that you have right now? Like in your rooms?
Only the drawers and like these bookshelves are mine, but I'm going to throw them away because I want better ones. And so I'm taking my drawers.
Ones, right?
Yeah. And I'm going to have my dad build me some. So in our house that we lived in Kentucky, he built my mom like these wooden shelves like on the wall, like kind of like industrial looking, like natural. And so I told him that's what I want for my birthday is for him to build me. So like one whole wall will be that. And then I'm going to have 2 of the Billy bookcases on the other side.
Nice.
So, yeah. So I have that, and
all
then
your books in one spot. That'll be nice.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping so.
And you'll have a whole house to expand if needed.
I can always put them in other places. So, but I have like my bed, which is in the barn, and then I have a table and chairs, which is upstairs at the farm, and then I have my drawers, my nightstand. I have this little thing here that holds all my blankets, and then I bought a chair for the library, but I feel like that's it that I had myself. So,
gotcha. That's kind of nice then. You're not having to move like a ton of stuff into it that you don't already have like packed up and ready to go kind of thing.
Yes. And then I was real stressed about having to buy all that furniture, and now I don't have to. So win-win. God is always working because I was just complaining about how I wasn't going to be able to afford anything. And I was like, this is so annoying. I can't buy anything. And I was like, okay, I'll stop complaining. I'm like, it doesn't work when I do that about a husband, but hey, I'll take the couch.
You can keep trying.
In my low. Sorry. Way off topic there. My low. This episode's going to end up being like 50 minutes, but like 40 of it is going to be nothing to do with the book club.
That's fine. It's called chapter chats, not chapter silences. Yeah, I did come up with that one right now.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I should take that to my comedy routine. It doesn't exist yet, but
it should.
Got at least 5 seconds of material.
My low is that I'm tired. I'm just tired. I need more sleep. Yep.
Cool.
Obviously, you can tell.
What do you do when you like can't sleep? Are you just like on your phone, or do you just like lay there and hope?
Did you say and hope? No.
Yeah, like you'll fall asleep.
Oh, okay. I thought you mentioned it. I was like, that's never been my problem.
You're like, no one's ever accused me of hope.
Like, I actually have the exact opposite of that. No, sometimes I get on my phone and read, or I watch TikTok, but I try not to do that because then I just stay awake. And so lots of times I will just lay there and have existential dread, or I'll pray. That's usually what I should do more often, praying. And then sometimes I just stare at Bruno because he's being loud on my floor. There's lots of options.
Poor guy.
Yeah. Last night I was like, stop licking your paws.
How'd that work out?
It didn't. He just was like, right back to it.
He's like, you're not my boss.
So your highs and lows.
I don't have a good high or low this week, so I kind of did some like generic ones. I'll start with my low, which is that May is just a very busy month for Michael and I. And like, I feel like every single weekend there's like something on the calendar. And this weekend's is that he's in a wedding, but the wedding itself is on a Monday. And so all
weird.
of the all of the rehearsal stuff's on Sunday. And I'm like, if you don't want people to come to your wedding, like you don't have to have one. Like you can elope. Like that's fine. But I guess they're saving like something like $7,000, they said, on the venue for having it on a Monday. But then I'm like, the reason that you save $7,000 is because people don't come. But we don't really have the option because he's in the
I'm just like, a Monday in May? May's so busy. You have graduations and school ending and travel. I'm just like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's not fun. So yeah, that's like this weekend's activity. And then we have like graduations, couple graduation parties. We had like Mother's Day and lots of activities for that last weekend. I feel like we've just been running around a lot. I'm And being busy is not like a bad thing. Like, none of that's a bad thing. I just get very annoyed when like so much of my time is taken up by like obligatory activities that like I would normally not be doing given the option.
Well, and then it's like you don't have any time to like reset or do something you actually want to do. So it feels like your weekends are not really actually weekends.
Yes. So that's not a good time. And then my high, this was a cute thing. Our friends came over on Wednesday night and they have a 1.5-year-old little girl and she met Captain for the first time, my dog, and he did so good with her. Like,
That's
he
so
was so
good.
cute. He was taking like treats out of her hand really gently. He was like shaking her hand and stuff. We taught her how to like teach him or like tell him to sit. And he was like doing it for her, even though I could tell he was like, really? Again? You want me to sit again? And she was like throwing toys for him and stuff. He did a really good job. He was very gentle. And like, he really likes kids, but he hasn't like met like babies or toddlers before. So I wasn't like nervous about him being like aggressive or anything. He's just like kind of a tank. Like, he's like a thick boy. So if he like tried to play too rough or something like that, I was just kind of like, we gotta make sure to monitor this. But it went really well. She likes him a lot. She like tried to give him a high five and ended up just like hitting him in the head. And he like was just wagging his tail. Like, it was really good. So yeah, that was fun. He's 8, so he's getting like old, but I mean, he doesn't act like it at all. Like, I think he'll have plenty of years left, but you know, we'll have kids here eventually, hopefully soonish. And so it was just like a nice, you know, like, oh, he likes the baby.
When you said soonish, I thought you were going to be like, I'm pregnant.
No,
I was going to be like, yay!
Announce that to you.
You're like, this is the time to announce to Bree, my BFF. Hey, by the way.
You and all 2 of our listeners can find out together. Just kidding. We don't have 2 listeners.
My mom listens, and my friend Jordy listens.
Do they? Well, that's nice.
Actually, my friend Jake listens too. He said I have to support your endeavors. Shout out to Jake.
Shout out, Jake. Well, probably now he'll be my friend instead because I'm obviously way cooler. Yeah, I know who they are. You also helped him move, like, from... I have a vivid memory of you describing moving a couch.
Yeah, up 3 flights of stairs in like 95-degree weather with 200% humidity. And I was like, Jake, you have to get male friends. It's like, this is not a woman's job. This is a male's job. Okay.
You want to talk about your recent read?
Sure. My recent read, I couldn't decide, honestly, which one I wanted to talk about. So I decided to be negative because that seems to be on theme with me today.
Yeah. Bree has been sipping the haterade this morning.
About so many things. I just am in full-blown hater mode, and we're gonna stay there because it's comfortable. Yeah, my recent read, one of them was Rites of the Starling, which we've talked about on here before, how Shield of Sparrows was one of my top reads last year. One of my favorite books. I absolutely loved it. 5 out of freaking 5 stars. This is a no. It was just okay. It's not really a full no, because it was okay.
I was gonna say, you gave it 3.5?
3.5. But I think because I was so excited, the fact that this is only a 3.5 feels like I got stabbed in the heart.
Huge betrayal.
Yeah. Like, what happened? And also, like, I was just seeing all these videos of people, like, literally, like, sobbing on their floor. Oh my gosh, this book is devastating. It's a masterpiece. And so I was expecting to cry, and I did not shed a single tear. Not one. I did the opposite of cry. My tear ducts shriveled up. There was no crying to be had.
I absorbed other people's tears.
Literally. So yeah, it wasn't bad. It just was a lot of nothing. Like, I feel like, literally, I don't even know what to say. That's how it feels. Like, it just feels like nothing happened. And then, like, we get to the big reveal, but I'd already kind of figured out the big reveals. And that's kind of where the book basically ends. Like, that's the last big thing that happens. So the fact that I already knew that was happening just made the end of the book feel like, meh.
You didn't reread Shield of Sparrows before, right?
Nope.
Do you feel
But I did my recap video, and so I was like...
I was gonna ask, do you feel like if you did, like, do you think it's just like your tastes have kind of shifted a little bit, and like maybe Shield of Sparrows wouldn't like hit the same either, or you think it's just like this book was not as good?
No, I think, which, you know, I don't know for sure, but I think Shield of Sparrows would still hit for me because I really liked the characters and I liked the world building and the monsters, and I thought it was super fun. And like with this one, first of all, like random new monsters were introduced and acted like they've always been around. And I was like, if they've always been around, why didn't we know about them in the first book? Like, It's like, be weird to be like, oh, the blah, blah, blah monster that's always been here that we've all known about, but we've never once mentioned before being nervous or scared about this one. And so I thought that was weird. And like the lore and expanding of the world made sense, especially at the end of Shield of Sparrows. Like it tied into that really well. I just didn't think it was executed as well as the world building was in Shield of Sparrows. Like I just felt it was kind of lacking, and like we were just talking about things like we should know what these things were, and I did not obviously know that. So
yeah, kind of a bummer. I'm hoping that the third book wraps it up really well, because it seems like she authors Devney Perry. I think you probably said that, but like she clearly plots out all of her books.
Yeah.
Like I don't think she's a just like let's see where the winds take us type writer. So hopefully it was a little like mushy middle, and it'll wrap up really tightly.
And I do think if I hadn't predicted the big reveal, I would have liked it a little bit more, because I usually don't predict things, because I usually am just not thinking ahead.
You want to like just tell me what it is so that I'll know when I go into it?
You want me to?
No, I was
like, don't tell me.
I don't. Who knows when I'll read it either. I still don't even own it yet.
Yeah, and so I think I also feel like I'm on a trend this year, which maybe it is my reading tastes have changed, you know, especially after my Lent challenge. Like I have not read a sequel yet this year that's lived up to what I thought it would be from the books I loved. Like I read Release Me, and I liked it. I gave it 4 stars, but Watch Me was one of my top books of the year last year. I loved every second of it. I gave it 5 stars. Shield of Sparrows, one of my top books. Rites of the Starling, I gave it 3.5, so less than Release Me. I'm reading Fury Bound right now.
I was going to ask if you had gotten to that yet.
Yeah, I'm like 320 pages into the 600-page book, and it's not bad. Again, I feel about it very similar to I did about Rites of the Starling. Like, it's not bad.
It's just
but am I just like dying to read it, to know what's happening? No. And like when I read Dire Bound and Shield of Sparrows, which again, I'm a big mood reader, so could just be that my mood is just not where it's at. But I couldn't put those books down. Like I read them so fast. Yeah. And this is just,
I think it's hard to, I mean, these are kind of the first few sequels that I feel like are like traditionally published, where we're getting them as they come. Like this, it sounds bad, but like we came back to reading as adults not that long ago. And so there's been, I think, a lot of like Red Rising, we can just binge all of the books and like there's almost no like pause for your expectations to like build more than they already are when that's the case. And then, you know, if it's a long series, so you're looking for like book 7 to come next, that's gonna obviously hit different than kind of untested authors, which I wouldn't say Devney Perry's is like untested, but this is her first romantasy, so it's not like we know what her pattern is.
And literally like everyone I know gave it 5 stars. Like I know
you're one of the very, very few people.
Yeah. And this is one of the, like, I love Devney Perry. Rites of the Starling and one other book are the only 2 books by her that I've given below 4 stars. Like her writing usually always hits for me. Yeah. So it very much could have just been my mood. I don't know, but it just did not hit for me the way that I wanted to or needed to. It was also my first book after my second, like, secular book after I ended my Lent reading. So it was, like, the second book back into, like, secular books. So that could happen. I don't know. There are a lot of different factors that could be at play. But, yeah, it wasn't bad. Let me, like, it really wasn't bad. It just was not.
Did not meet your expectations.
Yeah, and my expectations were, like, extremely high. So that could be it too. But yeah,
hard to live up to.
Yes, I am extremely picky and hard to please, so that's also me. But I'm still gonna read the 3rd book. I still can't wait for it. I'm still excited. I also think it's really hard because Devney Perry is so used to writing like romances in like one book. So like at the end of Shield of Sparrows, like our main couple is together, and I feel like in fantasy books I tend to like more when you have like multiple book build up to the relationship. You know, you like think of ACOTAR, like Feyre and Rhys. I mean, spoiler if you haven't read ACOTAR, but that's on you because it's been out forever. Like, Feyre and Rhys really aren't, like, even together till the end of the 2nd book. And even then, it's not till, like, partway through the 3rd book till they're finally, like, fully in the same place, can be together. You know? Like, you get that long build-up versus, like,
I was going to say, like, Throne of Glass, you don't even know who the main characters are until the, like, 4th book.
You're like waiting for that, and you're getting the tension in these little moments and the will they, won't they? Who is she gonna actually be with? Whereas like this, like I love the build up to Ransom and Odessa, or to the build up of the Guardian and Odessa. Let me just, since it's still fairly ish new. But by the time you like got to the second book, like they were together, and I just
You
felt like
can't
their
start reading
relationship.
that book and not think they're gonna be them. It's fine. Okay.
No, and so, but like they're already together, so you're reading the second book, and it just, I think my biggest problem was that it felt very lust focused and like physical intimacy focused to like make up for the lack of like any kind of tension. So it's just like they kept like randomly having sex, and I was like, okay, we get it. They like to have sex, but like we're not getting like the romance. Like we're not getting the like swoon moments of like them actually like being in love. I'm like, you don't have to be in love to have sex. Have you seen the world? Like I need something more. So I think that was like the romance was just not what I am used to from a Devney book, I feel like.
Well, I'm bummed that it didn't live up to what you wanted it to. I'm intrigued to see what I think when I read it.
Yeah, I want to see your, because
7 to 10 business years.
Because you didn't love Shield of Sparrows as much as me. You still gave it like 4 stars, I think.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I liked it. I think I had, like, I liked the world building. I liked the characters. I feel like I had some like pacing issues with it.
I think that's what,
because
that
I
sounds
feel
right
like
to me.
they were waiting in like the place with all the tree houses.
Trio.
Maybe I don't like the world building. What is that? Trio?
Or maybe it's
here
Trio.
in my house, which I have named Homo.
Yeah, scratch that. I forgot it's stupid.
But they were there for like a long time. And I have a hard time, I feel like, when you can like tell that MMCs are like trying their best and like obviously can't divulge certain information for like a very, in my opinion, apparent reason. And the FMC is like, he doesn't trust me. I'm like, yeah, you're literally not from here. Like,
why would we trust an outsider?
Yeah.
Especially one with red hair.
But you know what I mean? So, then there was a lot of back and forth. Like, that was like the main crux of the tension for like at least like a third of the book. And there were other things happening at the same time, but I'm like very hyper focused on the romance in Romantices. Shock. But there were a lot of aspects of it I liked a lot. Just, I think Odessa bothered me more than she bothered you, which very rarely happens.
Yeah, never happens. I'm an FMC hater.
Yeah, but I did like it. Like, I will read Rites of the Starling at some point.
Yeah. But you also, like, I think we talked about this in the last episode, maybe. You're not a person who, like, reads new releases. Typically, you don't read new releases, like, when they come out. Like, you wait until, which I am sometimes that way, but lately I've been reading them, and obviously it's not working out with me, so maybe I should wait.
Do as I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been really good about not buying a lot of books either this year, which has obviously influenced it because I have also been trying to like read my TBR down. So if it's not in my house, I'm probably not reading it, which sounds like it would be a bummer, but there's so many series that I have that are like, I literally own all of them and I just haven't read them yet.
Have a lot.
So yes, which now I'm starting to like lower my TBR actually for once. So yay. But yeah, we're waiting for that. Speaking of, great transition into my recent read, which
we
is...
just spent 20 minutes talking about Shield of Sparrows.
My recent read is Defy the Night by Brigid Kemmerer. This is the first book in a trilogy that is completed. I own all of them. I really love Brigid Kemmerer as an author. I would say she's probably one of my favorite YA authors. She's written one adult book, which I also very much liked, but I think YA is like where she shines. Even her contemporary, she writes a lot of fantasy, but I keep telling you gotta go read Letters to the Lost. You're gonna love it.
It's on my list. I actually think I put it on hold in the library. Maybe. So
the cover
but
sucks.
I also,
so don't
yeah,
judge it.
It's a weird cover. But I was like, you keep talking up, and I think our friend Faye talked about it too, like nonstop. So I'm like, it's on my list of things that I need to try. Yeah. Because of you guys.
I buddy read it with her, kind of not on purpose, but we were literally reading it at the same time. Like we were like, okay, now we're going to read the next 50 pages and like messaging about it. And I think that probably improved the experience somewhat, but I was like crying. Like it's emotional. The closest thing I would compare it to in like adult romance land, minus the magical realism, would be The Dead Romantics.
Love that book.
Exactly.
Enough said.
Anyway, so I read Defy the Night. It's a YA fantasy, I would say like romantasy, about this girl who's basically a you use like Robin Hood trope when we were talking about it
Mm-hmm.
earlier, which I didn't really like. I don't think I would have described it that way myself, but it fits.
You're
And
welcome.
there's like this disease, and so she's like basically trying to smuggle very limited medical supplies to people who live basically in like the boondocks and don't have access to the same things that the people in the, I think it's called like the Royal Sector or something, but they're like capital city.
The Boondocks. I was like, the Boonies.
And so she's part of this, like, she's working with this, like, rebellion movement, but she is not herself part of it. And her buddy who helps her, like, keep their names anonymous, faces anonymous, like, don't know who each other are kind of thing. And then he gets caught and killed. And then you kind of, so it's her perspective, and then it's the prince's perspective who's in the castle, and he's kind of the enforcer type dude, and his brother's the king.
I
really
love an enforcer.
Huh?
I said we love an enforcer. That tends to be like the go-to trope. Like very often, I feel like very rarely do you read like the king being the love interest. Like a lot of times it's like the second prince. And I don't know, like it just hits different.
Yeah. So I really liked it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I think it's the kind of thing where, because it was the first book, it was so plot heavy that I feel like I didn't get to know the characters as much as I like would have needed to make it a 5-star for myself. But I can like see that trajectory going well for me over the next 2 books, because there's going to be a lot less of like having to dive into how we got here kind of thing. Yeah. Now thinking about it, actually, I would not make this comparison in like a review or something, because obviously this book came first. Lots of similarities to Powerless.
Yeah. I feel like that's the whole like 2 brothers and all these things. Like I think that is a very like overused trope, and overused not in a bad way, because it obviously works and people like it. Like, so I will say
yes.
I'm excited to see. I gave this book 5 stars. I read it quite a while ago. I absolutely loved it.
It's been out for like 5 years now or something. Like it's backlist.
I was like, I read all 3 of them. I gave all 3 books in the trilogy 5 stars. I loved it. But I'm excited to see what you think about the second book, because I feel like you'll like it. But the second book has a very like love triangle kind of plot going on. So
I kind of, if it's between the 2 brothers, like there were crumbs kind of dropped where I was like, this is going to go somewhere, I think. And then it didn't like fizzle out necessarily, but there just wasn't a lot of interaction between her and one of them by the end. And I was like, so clocked that.
Also, I'm pretty sure, isn't the MMC's name Cormac?
Cormac.
Okay. I was like, I couldn't remember which one it was, if it was Cormac or Corrig. Yeah, Corrig is a weird name. So if I fall in love with a man named Corrig, there's something there.
I mean, his brother calls him Corey, so that's like some semi more normal.
I went to school with a really annoying kid named Corey who tried to like beat me up once, so I'm not a fan of the name Corey.
Huh. See, when I think of Cormac, I mean, obviously there's the guy from House of Sky and Breath, but I also think of Cormac McLagan from Half-Blood Prince, the guy that was like all over Hermione. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Like was competing with Ron to be the Seeker. Sorry, spoilers for Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince.
If you haven't read that yet, you suck. No, sorry.
I feel like that's like one of those, that and like Lord of the Rings, you have to have like that as like a base knowledge to like keep up with our conversations.
Yeah.
You know?
I was like, I randomly talk about The Hobbit all the time. Just who I am. And also, I don't, like, we've talked about how I don't think spoilers are big of a deal, but I try not to spoil newer things. But Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, like,
you've had time. Yeah.
If you haven't read it yet, sucks to be you. I don't know what to tell you.
I think the last Harry Potter book came out in like 2007.
I was in like 5th grade or 6th grade or something.
I think 2007.
Like, I remember going to Walmart at midnight in my podunk little town and getting it. It's the only place that sold it in my town at that time, because our Books A Million didn't have any copies yet.
Have a Books A Million.
We didn't have a Barnes & Noble, though. We only had a Books A Million, so.
I only had an indie bookstore. My closest Barnes & Noble was in like San Jose. Yeah, I went to like a little midnight release party. I think we talked about this on an episode.
I think we have too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sorry. Yeah. So that's Defy the Night. I think I'm going to jump straight into the next book because I have them from the library and I feel like I'm trying to knock full things off my shelf because I feel like particularly with series, it's very easy for me to like read, as we just discussed, like 1 or 2 and then get like lost. And then I don't retain things nearly as well as Bree does. And so I have to like reread a lot of the time if it's been like usually more than like a year between my first read. Many times it's much longer than a year. Like the next one I'm planning on doing that with is When the Moon Hatched. And that's going to be an undertaking to reread.
That's why I've started doing these recaps, because they help me remember things. And then for people who can't reread, and I think I'm going to do a When the Moon Hatched one, which you probably still want to reread it, but I just decided I'm going to do a full YouTube video for it.
That's good. Because, yeah, you were saying you were going to do the clip version, and I was like, I don't think you should.
There's no way. I was like, my diary bound one was like,
When the Moon Hatched recap, part 20.
Yeah, literally. I was like, because my diary bound one alone was like 11 minutes or something like that. So it's like When the Moon Hatched. If you haven't read When the Moon Hatched, you should. It's amazing, but it is an intensive experience.
Yeah,
you need to be ready.
There's a lot of world building. There's a lot of plot. There's a lot of characters.
Some of the best world building.
Yes, it's really good.
I feel like excellent world building, but it is, you need to be paying attention.
Honestly, like the closest equivalent, which people, this is not going to be helpful because less people have probably read this than have read When the Moon Hatched. But for you, maybe this will be a motivation. My closest comparison, minus the dragons, would be Road of Bones, like style-wise. So
that's right up there.
You should read it.
Maybe I'm going on a cruise in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, that's crazy. 2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks?
Yeah, something like that.
What a time frame.
And so I will add it to my Kindle, because I'm buying all these Kindle books to read while I'm on the cruise. It's just 7 days. I don't think I will get here in time. This is not important to the conversation, sorry. But yeah, I will read it soon.
Okay, I'm excited for you for that. Could log into my Kindle. I think I have the ARC still.
Just for you. We know I love me some Kindle Unlimited. I was really, really mad that Fury Bound wasn't on Kindle Unlimited. I was like, Diary Bound's on Kindle Unlimited. Why isn't this one? I hate that. Respect your fans.
Also started indie published, didn't it?
Yeah.
And Fury Bound went straight to trad.
Yeah, which is great for them. I'm so excited, but also still put it on Kindle Unlimited.
He said, that's awesome for them. That's so great.
It's the same.
I'm so happy for you.
I'm the worst, because it's the same thing with like movie adaptations. Like, I'm so happy for you as an author, but I probably will not support it because they tend to suck. So
I think as soon as I got over my because when I was younger, I used to be so like, if it doesn't match the book, then it's a bad adaptation. But now I kind of feel like you just got to separate them.
But like, we're like not going to talk about the book at all. We're so off topic. But like, you think about like the Hunger Games adaptations. There were several changes in those, but they weren't changes that I feel like changed the core characters or core plot.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like overall those adaptations were really good. Like, there were some changes here or some scenes that were cut or moved around, but it didn't like change how things are happening or why things are happening. Like, as far as like true to motivations, like, the like Hunger Games pin and stuff, like that changed who gave her that, motivated that, the Mockingjay, all that. But as far as her motivations and how the plot outlined, it was still fairly like accurate. Whereas not so much in some other ones off campus.
I am kind of at a point in life where like I don't know that I'll ever read those books, so I feel very removed from.
Yeah, but like I feel like regular romance, especially previously indie published to trad published romance, is not your like genre of choice. I was like I feel like you tend to, not always, but you tend to like romances that have more.
Psychoanalyze me.
Yeah. Let's see why you have this way. You tend to enjoy romances that have more of an emotional secondary plot, I feel like. Like Emily Henry or Abby Jimenez or Cara Bastone. Like the silly, goofy romances are not always your cup of tea, I feel like.
No, because what's the point?
The point is to not think.
Well, mission accomplished.
Like, I reread the Off-Campus series last year, and I loved it even more than I did the first time. But I definitely don't think you would like it.
It's not even that I like never read that kind of thing. It's that I just don't usually like it.
Yeah, I was like, it's
then
not
like what I like. It's a waste of my time.
Yeah, why would you? That's why I never would be like, oh my gosh, Hannah, you have to read The Deal, because I don't think you would like it.
And I feel like when I want more of like a brain off like story, I'm more likely to go to like YA than I am to go like just like no depth, But not saying, obviously, if you like those, whoever's listening, if they like those, that's great. I'm happy for you.
But you're stupid.
I have more intellect, but it's whatever.
But anyway.
Yeah, sorry. So let's talk about the Nightingale.
48 minutes later.
This is technically our book club episode. We read The Nightingale for this month.
Technically last month.
Oh yeah, for April, we read The Nightingale.
We're just way behind.
Which, honestly, this isn't like a thick book. So you're welcome for the extra weeks we gave you.
We gave you more time.
The generosity of our hearts. This was my first time reading this book. This is neither of our first Kristin Hannahs. I think I've read 4 or 5 others from her.
I think I have too.
This is in my top 3 now, though.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's in my top 3 too.
I would put The Great Alone, Homefront, and this.
Actually, I think I'm the exact same. I was like, I loved although I go back and forth with this one or Winter Garden being in the third spot, but Winter Garden has a very similar, like, it was about escaping from Stalin, so
Gotcha.
it's close to the same kind of, it's just from the, like, opposite point of view, but yeah. So, you haven't read that one. But
No,
yeah,
I
I think this
haven't.
is, and
I also have read Firefly Lane, which that's another adaptation that I feel like ruined the book for a lot of people. I really liked that book. And I
haven't
also
read that
gave
one.
it 5 stars, but I wouldn't put it above the other 3, I think.
That's one I haven't read, and I haven't watched the show either. So maybe I should watch the show before I read it, because that won't ruin the show for me.
I think you'll be really annoyed by the show.
Doesn't it have Katherine Heigl in it?
Yeah.
I sometimes find her annoying.
She plays they're both very flawed characters, but like she'll be the one that you have a problem with in the book too. She's just more annoying in the movie.
Yeah.
Show.
I was like, I've read, how many have I read? I read Great Alone, Homefront, The Nightingale, The Women. The Women is really good. Have you read The Women?
Mm-mm. That's on my shelf.
I was like, The Women is devastating. Devastating. Love that one. I read The Four Winds. I think The Four Winds is her most depressing book.
That makes sense. That's the Great Depression one, right? In the Dust Bowl?
Yeah, the Dust Bowl. Like, it pretty much ends, and I guess you can call it a resolution, but it doesn't really, it just feels like it's over. Like, I'd still give it 5 stars. It's still a great book, but it's not a, like, happy, tied together ending. Like, I feel like Kristin Hannah is emotionally devastating, but even in this book, like, there's still a, like, happy-ish resolution at the end. At least some part. Like, not everything is happy, but there's, like, some things that come together, and you're like, okay.
It's a satisfying ending.
Yes.
I think is what.
Whereas Four Winds was very much just depression the whole time.
That's way up there. I have I
read True Colors, which I really liked too.
That's that's one of my favorite covers of hers.
It's gorgeous with like the sunset.
And the horse.
Yes. And then Winter Garden, which I listened to the audiobook of Winter Garden, and at first I was like, this book isn't any good. And then like 45% into it, I was bawling my eyes out. So she got me. And I read Distant Shores, which I feel like it's one of those that I don't even know if I would really qualify as historical fiction, because it's like set in the 90s and 2000s, I think. And it's about a divorced couple, so it was not my favorite. I also read Angel Falls by her. Wow, I've read a lot by her.
You have.
I've almost read her whole backlist. I think I have like 3 left. I always forget how many I've read until we're sitting here and listing them off, and I'm like, oh wow.
You have not read Comfort and Joy, which is just a darn shame.
I was like, you told me how much you hated that, and I was like,
I gave it 2 stars. That's like
which never happens for you.
Every other Kristin Hannah book I've read has been 5. Every
also,
other one.
I feel like you just don't give out 2 stars very often. Like, you have to really not like it.
More that way.
I'm influencing you. Be a hater.
I don't know that I'm giving out more 2 stars necessarily, as it is just like less 5 stars. So I feel like it's been like moving. There's a lot of things I think that I have historically rated like 3 stars that should have been 2 stars that I just didn't want to like. I don't know who I didn't want to offend, because it's like every author is paying attention to my reviews. But yeah, Comfort and Joy was horrible. It was so bad.
Was horrible.
It also has a trope that I really like don't like in it, which I won't say. And it's a novella, so she didn't have a lot of room to like do a lot of the character development that like we get in here and stuff like that in that short amount of pages. But it was supposed to be like a cheerful Christmas thing is what I thought going into it. And then it was like, plane crash, coma,
destruction.
And and her sister, this isn't even a spoiler, I won't cut this out, but her sister, within the first like probably like 5% of the book, she gets divorced. Her sister gets with her ex and then tells her that she's pregnant.
Yeah, no, that does not sound fun.
And I'm like, wow. And then her parents are like, it's time you got over this and just like accepted him. It's like a part of our family. And I'm like, yeah, she already thought he was part of her family though. Yeah. She really had accepted that. And then, yeah, but it's fair. And there's just certain things that I feel like I don't even want to read about because they ick me out. And then I thought like, okay, because all that happens very early on. I'm like, obviously it's going to be about her finding like love and moving on and whatever, maybe like cutting her sister off. Like I would have rooted for that, but it was not. So here we are.
Anyway, so we didn't like that one, or Hannah didn't. I haven't read it. I don't know if I ever will. But we did love this one. And typically in these, I read like a big synopsis with all the spoilers. But a lot of stuff happens in this book, and I don't really want to read the whole synopsis to you because that'll take a long time, and we've already yapped about a bunch of other random things for almost an hour now. I will just say this takes place in World War II in France, and it's like you kind of see the whole war happen. Like from the beginning, like rumblings when, these people really didn't think anything was going to happen, to all of the devastating consequences of what does eventually happen. And it follows two sisters, and I really, really loved that we got equal time with both the sisters and what they were doing, and that their plots were so different, but you still felt like that intertwining of the familiar relationship between them. And I loved both Vianne and Isabel, like, as characters.
Yeah, I did too. And I think it's very rare when there's dual POVs like this that I like both equally, especially because they are so different. And I related to each of them in like different ways also. So I didn't feel like it was such a like, you're going to sympathize with one or the other and like that's it.
No, I thought she did a really good job of writing the characters' nuance to where like they were very flawed, but you also saw the good parts of them, and so it just made them very human and very relatable and very likable, even when you wanted to punch them in the face sometimes.
Yeah. So I will say, like, just to kind of give context on things that we're going to be talking about, we'll kind of just splatter, I guess, plot points.
I mean, I can read the whole synopsis if you want me to, but
it's okay. It kind of kicks off when Germany starts invading Paris, which is where Isabel is living with her dad in like an apartment at the time. And he sends her away and says she needs to like get out of the city. And I think he like paid off somebody to take like to go drive her, but then they run out of gas and she basically, and then bombs start dropping. And so she's like running away on foot trying to get to her sister's house. And she runs into this boy. What's his name? Gaitan?
Gaitan. I don't know how you say it.
I think it's Gaitan.
Gashon.
Who is an escapee from one of the prisons that's like around, but it got, I guess, bombed or somebody let all of the prisoners out. So now he's like running for his life too. And he's like, this hunky man. And they kind of hit it off in like a trauma bonding sort of way, I would say, because they're watching people around them die as these bombs are raining down. He's like shielding her with his body in like this ditch. Like it's traumatic.
And romantic.
Yeah, and so they're together for like, I want to say like a week while they try to make it to Vianne's house.
And they're both talking about joining the resistance. Yeah. But then he basically is like, you're not really ready for it. You just think you are. So he leaves her high and dry.
Once they get to Vianne's house. So she like wakes up. I think they make it to like her barn or something, and they're not going to go inside because it's the middle of the night. And then she wakes up with a note pinned to her that he left, which is very sad. I really liked him.
I did too.
I was pretty confident he was like dead though, because it was like early on enough that I was like, he's not gonna be
coming back.
Which, spoiler alert, he does end up coming back. So that
when he did, I was like, oh, I was so excited.
And then so Isabel's living with Vianne. Pretty soon after she moves in, the Nazis are occupying this like little French town outside of, I want to say it's outside of Lyon. Is that right?
That sounds right. It's like Caravo. That's the name of their house, I think. Or maybe it's the town.
I think it is the town. Yeah. And the Nazis are going to, as part of their occupation, be like housed in a lot of the French homes while all of the Frenchmen are off at war. And one of them is this guy. I'm forgetting his name.
Beck, I think.
Yes, who moves into Vianne's house, and he stays in like their guest room downstairs.
They're basically like being forced to quarter them. Like you don't really have a choice.
Yeah. No, he shows up with like his gun and is like, I will be staying here. Which room is mine?
What's for dinner?
And I had like a huge mind F moment through Beck's entire like occupancy in their house, because he genuinely is such a gentleman, and he's a Nazi, but it's not his choice to be there. And I think he doesn't want to be, and he tries very hard, I think, to like take care of Vianne in the ways that he is able to do that. Like, he sneaks them extra food. He, like, talks purposely about his wife and his kids so she doesn't feel like he's gonna, like, come on to her or anything.
Yes. Because I don't know if we mentioned this. You might have mentioned this. But Vian's husband was forced to go to war. So he's gone.
Yes.
And in fact, at one point, he becomes a prisoner of war. And, like, Beck, like, helps her, like, get a letter to him and stuff. So, like, her husband is gone. She doesn't know what's going to happen with that. She's got this random man living there.
I think the only reason she knows that he is a prisoner of war is because Beck, like, does research, figures it out, and, like, yeah, is, like, delivering letters to him and also to all of her friends' husbands, because she's we didn't mention this either, she's, like, a teacher at their local elementary school. And then the first time you kind of get, like, a bit of a feeling from him is he asks her to provide a list of all of the Jews that are employed at her school, one of which is her friend Rachel, who we haven't talked about, but Rachel is their neighbor, and she has 2 kids, I think?
Yes.
2 kids.
A daughter and a son.
And one of them is friends with, or, well, I guess they all are friends with Vian's kids. Sophie is her name? Her daughter?
Yes.
And
right? Wait, or Sophie Vian's daughter?
I think Sophie's Vian's daughter. That's what I meant.
Yes. Okay. Yes, sorry.
I don't remember what Rachel's daughter's name is. Rachel's son's name is Ari, and he's younger than Sophie. But anyway, so she kind of figures, I'm not going to get anywhere by not providing these names because it's completely easy for him to go and get this information from anywhere else, so all it's going to do is put me at odds with him. So she gives him the names, and then nothing happens for a long time with these names. And I think it's like a year or something later that they end up kind of firing. First, it's just firing all of the Jews that work at her school. And then eventually you see over, the context of, I think it's like year 2 of the entire war before they start Jews away into, I mean, what we know is concentration camps, but they don't really know that at the time. And so Beck kind of gives her a heads up that Rachel should not be home at a particular night when it sounds like they're going to be rounding up anybody who's remaining. But Vian goes a step further, and she's going to help get Rachel to the other side of the border of the Nazi-occupied part of France. So she's going to get her into the free zone, essentially. And so they leave in the middle of the night. They make it pretty much all the way there, and then bad things happen.
Yeah, Rachel's daughter gets shot. I literally, when I read that the first time, like, I was not expecting it. I was like,
I thought Rachel was going to die.
Yeah, I thought the mom was I did not think the child was going to die. Definitely took me by surprise. And then I was like, okay, we're not messing around. We're in it. It was devastating. And then because of that, they end up going back. And basically, like, once they get back, the next day, officers come and detain Rachel and take her away. So not only is her daughter dead, she's being detained, and she asks Vian, like, take my son and hide him, basically. Like, say he's yours so that he doesn't get taken away.
Yeah. So, and for a while, I think she's going under the cover story that he is from, like, relatives.
Yeah, it's like she says that like, his parents basically died and they were like her cousins or something. So, and she renames him. She calls him Daniel now instead of Ari, so that people don't know that
like, broke my heart when she was having the conversation with him and then also with Sophie of, like, his name is Daniel. Like, you can't do anything. And I think Beck is still there at this point.
Yes.
And so he isn't going to say anything, which, see, and this is why it's such a, like, mind of, because it's like, obviously he's a Nazi. Obviously, like, his whole job is to, like, do bad things to people. But equally, he's like, I can't go anywhere. I can't go home. I'll get shot if I leave. And he's doing kind of, like, the best he can in the position that he's in. Like, at one point, I don't remember why she was going in, but she goes to his office, like, where he's posted up to work, and he's got, like, all of these crates and boxes of food and stuff that are obviously what he's using to, like, bring to her house. They're rations that she's not supposed to be getting because all of the, like, good stuff is going to the soldiers and all of the Nazi sympathizers. And I think you can tell how torn she is, and you can see why she feels very, like, grateful to him for being a gentleman and not, because she's also hearing stories of all of the other people that have
housing less than gentlemanly soldiers.
Yes. So simultaneously with all that, Isabel's there for a while, and she has no sympathy for Beck at all. She's like,
No, she hates him.
Is a Nazi. He's here because he's killing the Jews, and I don't need to be around him, and we don't need to pretend that, like, he's doing us some favor by bringing us like some meat sometimes.
She's like, he sucks. I relate to Isabel a lot.
And so Isabel kind of joins their kind of local chapter of the French resistance. And basically what she does is in the middle of the night, she'll get up and she'll go plaster all of these like anti-Nazi flyers and things all around the town. And nobody knows it's her. Vienne thinks that she's like just leaving really early in the morning to go get their like daily groceries or whatever. And through that, Isabel's kind of making contacts with people who are connected to more, I would say, like central members of the resistance. And so as you kind of get further, she eventually decides to leave. Her and Vienne kind of mutually decide that she should leave because she's like, I'm not okay with him being here and I can't just suck it up and be nice to this person who is
a Nazi.
Literally his 9 to 5 is like shooting people. And so she leaves. And her goal is to go back to Paris to go be back with her dad in the apartment in Paris. And then she wants to start working with the Parisian resistance movement, who she has contacts with now because of who she's been working with in the town. I don't remember why it's her that they're sending. There was a particular reason that they were sending her specifically.
Yeah, I remember her dad. She finds out her dad is like involved in the resistance a little bit, and then something else happens.
She goes back and is working with them already, though.
Yeah, but I was like, I don't remember what gets her to that point exactly.
Yeah, I want to say he works for like the government or something, and he's providing false identification for the resistance members. That's what it is. Anyway, and so she basically says like, I can't stay there, and her dad's like, what do you mean you can't stay there? She's your sister, and she's like, she also agrees that I can't stay there. Well, no, this is later. Never mind. Oh, no, it's not later. There's a random pilot that gets shot down that she puts in the barn, like in the cellar or whatever, to like protect him. And Vienne freaks out and he dies. But Vienne still freaks out when she finds out because she's like...
This happens like right after Rachel gets detained.
Yeah.
Like Isabel comes back and then all this happens with the fallen airmen.
She's like, Beck is in the house. Like he can't, like he can try to like be nice and protect us, but he's not gonna like not turn us in if we're harboring a fugitive. And
they're in the barn having this conversation and Beck walks out and Vienne's like, oh my gosh, and then she hits him in the back of the head with a shovel, which I was like, smart thinking on her part. But when she goes to do that, he also has his gun, and then Isabel's taking the airman's gun, and so 2 shots go out. And Beck gets shot and Isabel gets shot.
Rough times.
And then Beck dies.
You know that song? It's like, hard times.
That's what was going.
Yes. And we also didn't mention this, but while she's in Paris, she hooks back up with Gaetan because he's part of the resistance there too. And so him and like another guy are with Isabel when this all happens.
It's a big old cluster in the barn.
I think and even at one point is like, is this the guy that like abandoned you? And Isabel's like, yeah,
it is, but he didn't this time.
And so she's like, you can't use my house for this. And you got to get rid of this dead airman now.
Yeah, and the dead Beck.
Yeah.
You got to get rid of all the dead bodies. And Isabel's shot, so she's hurt. So it's literally just like so much happens in that one scene. It's crazy. And you're kind of like, what's going to happen? But they end up hiding Beck's body. And they're like, we're going to take Isabel to a safe zone in the free zone. But she's like in a coma at this point, or like passed out from being shot.
She's not doing well.
She eventually like wakes up and she forces Gaten, whatever you want to call him. She forces him to acknowledge that they have feelings. And then they end up leaving.
It's been a couple of months at this point of them working together.
Yeah.
In passing in Paris.
And they get to the safe house and she recovers. And then eventually they go back to resume working for the resistance. Also, I don't think we said this. I don't remember. But when Isabel's like working for the resistance, her like code name is Nightingale. Hence the name of the book.
Yes. And the big thing that she's doing, because she has been, I think she's like made this trek before to go basically over the, I forget what they're called, but the mountains that border France and Spain. So she like takes treks of basically these like fallen, usually American or British soldiers that have like dropped in from planes into France when they're like injured or are going on leave or whatever else. And so she'll lead their like hiking expeditions to get them over the Spanish border. And then from there, they can go home through the Spanish embassy. And so there's a lot of talk. Like everybody knows that the Nightingale exists, but nobody knows that it's her or that it's even a woman, except her dad. Her dad knows. And obviously the resistance people. So I don't know why I like specified her dad. Her squad knows.
Yeah. So then back in Vian's home, obviously the Germans are trying to get a hold of Beck and they're like, where is this dude? What happened to him? So they call her in for questioning and she does get cleared of like all suspicion, but she then catches the eye of the worst, Von Richter. You have to say his name just like that. And he literally is pure evil. And he decides, well, I'm going to now move into her home. And he basically kicks her out of her bedroom, treats her like a maid. And I think she like learns, obviously, like all of these people suck because they're all Nazis, but she had it a lot better when Beck was in her house versus when Richter moves in.
And I think she knew that, but there was like this hope that it wasn't going to get worse. But she can tell that he doesn't believe her story about what happened with Beck.
Yeah.
Basically invented that he like
deserted, right?
Got drunk and then went, got in a motorcycle accident or something. Like he left on his bike and then just never came back is her thing. And then meanwhile, the free zone also disappears. So now there is no like non-occupied area of France, which previously was like 4 miles away from them, I think.
Yeah.
And now it just doesn't exist anymore. So there's no like place where you can like smuggle the people to, the Jews to specifically when the Nazis are out. Von Richter is terrible. He like doesn't for a long time, but then makes like a routine of bringing like his friends over, and now she's got to like use all of the food, the only food she has, for like her and her daughter to like make them dinner and like serve them drinks. He's like pretty regularly assaulting her. Like there's a lot of not great stuff happening.
Yeah. She also starts working and saving Jewish children though. And like working with, it's basically a nun. I don't think they call her a nun, but that's what she is. And they work together.
Well, first she loses her job because she protests the fact that like all of the Jews get fired. Not protest. I think she's just like out in the hall. And I think she yells at a soldier not to like hit somebody, I believe.
I think that's right.
Like it's not a large infraction, but she loses her job. And so because she has all this free time, jump into that.
So she starts working with this nun, and basically like the young Jewish children, especially the sons of all of these people who have been taken to concentration camps and kidnapped, they start taking them to this orphanage and giving them French and English names so they don't know that they're Jewish, so that they just look like random orphans rather than the children of all of these Jews who have been taken. And she does anything to protect them. And I also think that ties into why, like, I'm pretty sure like Von Richter like kind of finds out and uses that to like continue like raping her even more. I'm pretty sure there's like a connection there.
Yeah. Well, she eventually, when he moves in, I think he tells her that she needs to like get rid of Ari/Daniel because I don't know what his reason is. Probably that there's not enough like rations or whatever for 3 people, or for 3 people, much less now 4 people because he's there. And so she starts leaving him in like at the orphanage.
Yeah. And she also what were you gonna say? Sorry.
I think he figures out that Ari is Ari and not a random relations child, and that's what he's holding over her head.
And Vian also gets pregnant.
Yes. And this is towards the end of the war. And so kind of Vian's impression is that as things get like more and more tense politically and the Nazis are doing worse and worse and kind of know that the Allies are about to win, they're getting harsher, meaner. Nothing has consequences because they're all going to die anyway. Things just get a lot more desperate. So she's in a bad spot.
And simultaneously, on the other hand, we have Isabel during this time, who is still working for the Resistance, and Gaten, however you say his name, I'm going to say that every time. He's working with Parisian fighters, and they're all working, even though the Nazis like have caught wind of who the Nightingale, not who she is, but like that she exists, so they're actively trying to find her. However, she eventually does get caught, and she wakes up in an interrogation room and is basically like tortured and beaten because they think she knows they don't know that she's the Nightingale, they just think she knows who the Nightingale is. And her dad ends up coming and claims that he's actually the Nightingale, so he gets executed, and then Isabel gets sent to a concentration camp.
And it's bad times at the concentration camp. Kind of, you get that parallel kind of timeline almost, while Vian's like, I'm getting raped more and more because he is in a bad mood because his job is going terribly. Isabel's like, people are literally dropping dead left and right at this concentration camp because none of the Nazis give a crap anymore about like even sort of pretending to like keep up the pretense that we're being treated fairly. And one of her buddies from the Parisian resistance is also in there. I forget her name. Do you know who I'm talking about? I think it starts with a Z.
Yeah, I can't remember the name, but I know.
But so they're kind of the only thing that are like keeping each other together, because they're also getting like, people are obviously like being overworked and the conditions are terrible, but a lot of people are also getting like tuberculosis and like a lot of diseases that are spreading very rapidly throughout the camp. And so you're pretty sure Isabel's like caught something, and she's pretty sure it's going to be like the end for her when finally the war is over. But they still don't get immediately out when the war is over, because they have to be like saved essentially, since obviously the Nazis aren't going to be like, well, we're packing it up now, we get to go home.
And I think she has typhus, doesn't she?
Oh, is it that? Yeah, I don't know. Something.
I think it's like pneumonia and typhus or something. But she gets taken to like a hospital, and Vienne and them eventually, well, hold on, let me back up a minute. The Germans end up retreating from Caribou, however you say it, their hometown, and they slowly start to rebuild their lives. Her husband comes back. He escapes from as a prisoner of war, so he returns home. And although she's like, they've been separated for what, 3-4 years now, so a long time. So they almost feel like strangers. And she doesn't tell him that she's pregnant at that point. But they go to Paris to try to find Isabel and see if she's dead, if she's alive, what's going on. They also learn that Rachel and her husband, Ari's parents, are dead, and she takes a list of all the children and gives them to the Red Cross to try to like reunite them with their families. And this part really broke my heart, because Ari, who's basically now been raised by her for what, 2 years, probably a little longer than that, and so like that's his family, because he was young when he got separated.
He doesn't even remember Rachel, yeah.
Yeah. And so, but representatives basically show up and they're like, well, members of Rachel's family want Ari, so he's going to have to go with them. You have no claim to him. And they get separated. And I literally cried so hard during that part.
It was horrible. Kristin Hannah does like a really masterful job at this, because you really do see like both sides of it. Like he's now one of the few Jewish children that's like survived this atrocity. He has relatives that will like raise him the way that his mom would have. Like they want him. Like it's not, it's horrible. And so he goes, and I felt bad for Sophie too, because this is her little brother.
Yeah, it was devastating all around. So, but they do eventually reunite with Isabel, and Isabel is still really sick, and she's at the hospital, and Gaetan shows up, Gaten,
our boy.
I had to do that. And she basically, like, she gets home before she dies, right? I don't remember.
Yeah, well, Gaetan isn't there at the hospital, so they get to take her home. She's not doing like well enough that she gets to go back. They cry because that's the first time they've seen each other. Their dad left them a letter that they read together. Like it's a very emotional situation.
Yes.
But yeah, so she is at their house, I want to say for like a week, because I have this like visual of her like sitting out on the porch in a chair, in the sun. And then Gaetan shows up at the house because he knows that that's where, or I guess makes the educated guess that that's where Isabel's going to be, because that's where he left her. So he knows obviously where Vienne lives, knocks on the door, and then she like falls into his arms and basically just dies right there with him holding her, which is wrecked me, because we didn't even like start with this, but the book starts with a woman finding this like trunk of all of the mementos and stuff from her time as the Nightingale, and talking to her kids about, you know, her experience or whatever, and how she doesn't talk about the war at all. And then she gets invited to this, I think it's a 50-year anniversary or something.
It's like a reunion of people who helped with the war.
And so a lot of people are going out to this like reunion in Paris, and she hasn't been, I think, out of like, she lives in Oregon now. I don't think she's left there since. And so it's like a big shock to everybody when she decides she's going to go to this reunion.
And you don't know who she is at this point.
It's heavily implied, I thought, that it's Vienne, especially because it's heavily implied that it's Isabel because of all of the Nightingale stuff. It really threw me for a loop when you find out that Isabel's dead, and it is in fact Vienne.
Because I don't even think you really know that last scene where Gaetan and Isabel hug. Like, I don't think it fully tells you that she died at that point. Like, then it goes, unless maybe I just am forgetting things. I thought it just went to the next chapter, goes into like present day where this lady is going back, and I still thought it was Isabel at that point. But I could have been wrong. Maybe I'm just reimagining things. Because then it's like she like reveals that Isabel passed away and that her sister died for the cause, basically, and blah, blah, blah.
I think she dies right after Catan tells her he loves her.
Anyway,
I guess maybe
she,
not, because she says, "Don't forget me." Isabel thought she wished she had the strength to say it out loud.
yeah. So I
And then
think
it
like
goes
you,
to her like flying on the plane with Julian to Paris.
yes, and you like are aware that she's probably gonna die, but you still don't know yet. And so then it gets to the present day, and it's revealed that it's Vienne, and she talks about her sister who died shortly after her return from the camps. Everyone's excited, and then while she's there, she also meets Catan. They reunite,
And his
and he
daughter's
reveals.
there.
Yes, he reveals that he has a daughter named Isabel after her, which is just really sweet. And then also, while they're talking, not a kid, a man walks up to her and it's revealed that it's Ari. And so they have like a reunion, which I cried again at that moment. It was
I could
so
cry right
good.
now.
Yeah, I'm gonna cry thinking about it. And basically, like, Julian is Vienne's youngest son who really, like, knows nothing about the war or what his mom did. And so, like, Ari
Has no
basically
idea
is,
that his dad is not his dad.
yeah, like, knows nothing. And Ari basically is like, no, your mom is amazing. She saved all of these children. She did this as a resistance, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually Vienne's like, I will tell you the whole story. And that's how it ends. And it's just, yeah, it was beautiful.
Ah,
So much for not telling you the whole synopsis.
I mean, it was hard to talk about the individual pieces, though, without being like, here's what happens. But I really, like, it's one of those books that I feel like will stick with you for a really long time when you read it. I'm really actually very excited for the movie that they're making out of this one.
Me too.
Dakota and Elle Fanning are going to be Vienne and Isabel. And I think just them being actual sisters is going to be incredible.
I also think that, like, historical fiction books, like, you can only make so many changes to them because it's based off actual history. So you can't really change too many parts of the adaptation because then you're not going to really be following history at all. So I feel like it's a safe bet that this is going to be at least pretty accurate.
It's Reese Witherspoon doing it, right?
Yeah, and I feel like she did Little Fires Everywhere, which I love that book, and she still, like, there were some changes, but they weren't crazy.
She did Big Little Lies too, which I really enjoyed. I think she has a healthy appreciation for like story and books, which is a big one. So I think it'll be really good. I think it's not supposed to be out till like, is it January of 27 or summer of 27? Next year sometime.
I think it's January. That sounds right to me.
So that'll be good. What else did I have to talk about?
I feel like I talked about a lot of things while we were doing the synopsis, so.
Yeah, we definitely did. I think obviously like the highlight of the whole thing was Isabel and Vienne's relationship and how that really like developed over time.
And the juxtaposition of, like, being sisters and obviously, like, not connecting personality-wise at times, but you're thrust into this high-stress once-in-a-lifetime thing where you're having to, like, deal with your own sense of morality while dealing with your family's sense of morality and what is right, what's wrong, what's the best decision. And so I really thought the, like, juxtaposition of their two approaches was written really well.
Yeah, they both frustrated each other so much because from Vienne's perspective, she's like, I would love to join the resistance, but I'm not just responsible for me. Like, I have kids depending on me. They have my husband. So if I'm doing something that they even like interpret as something they don't like, he's already got a slim chance of getting out in the first place. Whereas Isabel's like, how are you just like kowtowing to this Nazi that's in your house? Like, we could kill him. Isabel says that, I think, multiple times where she's like, we have a gun. Like, we could take him out right now. Like, he doesn't need to be here.
The more we talk about this, I'm like, wow, this is our friendship.
And I think it's just so... Her decision to put this in, like, France was really interesting, too, because I feel like you get a lot of, like, stories about World War II from, like, the perspective of, like, British soldiers or, like, people that are, like, in the thick of the conflict. But this was really, like, two people who have genuinely nothing to do with anything, who are just having to, like, live with all of the decisions that these leaders are making. And, like, I don't know, it is so emotionally draining. Like, it was a task to read this book, but it was so good.
Yeah, I don't know if I could ever reread it, but I gave it 5 stars.
It's not a happy book, for sure, but there are very hopeful parts. And I think there were just...
And this...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, this is like what I was talking about earlier. Like, obviously, it's not a happy book because people are dying. It's World War II. It's a really sad time. But there is that resolution at the end. You know, we survived and good things came about. Like Ari and her's reunion and Gatan's talking about Isabel and the influence. It feels whole at the end versus like, ugh.
Yeah. And I do think everyone like got what they... Not what they wanted, that sounds bad, but like their endings very much connect with how you get to know these characters in the sense that like really all Isabel wanted was to be part of something and to be loved. And that her like life ends when she finally hears that like Catan felt the same way that she was like begging him to tell her that he felt. It was very like poetic. Versus Vienne was like, I don't even want to talk about anything that happened over the last 4 years for like the rest of my life. And she doesn't. She like keeps this one trunk. And the only reason I think that it even comes about is because her son wants to like move her, I think, to be like closer to him or into like a nursing home or something.
Yeah.
And so she's like packing up her attic. And otherwise she wouldn't have like opened this all again at all. And even then, she like, I think she has this like intense amount of survivor's guilt because Isabel did all of these things and then ended up dead. And she doesn't feel like her contribution was like all that great. And I think she carries still like the guilt from the very beginning of like, I gave these names of all of these Jews. Not that I really had a choice, but like
or that I really knew what the full consequence would be. Like when she gave those names, she wasn't thinking they're going to be sent to concentration camps and be murdered. You know, like you obviously like you don't have the foresight to know like how bad it was going to get.
Yeah. And the fact that she's like, whenever there was like kind of two options, I took the one that was easier, or I took the one that wasn't going to get me or my family killed. And like, I think she had very good reasons not to, right? It's not, and she ended up doing a lot, even if she doesn't see it as a lot, because that was such a powerful moment at the end too, when she like gets up there to speak about Isabel, and that it's, I think it is Catan that's like, your mom did everything for so many people. Like there's 13 kids that survived that wouldn't have otherwise because your mom was willing to like do that right under not just Beck's nose, but like von Richter's. Like that's way harder than just letting it all happen type thing because she could have.
So all in all, this book was a win for both of us. Yes. It was definitely emotionally heavy, but I can't recommend enough. I love this book.
I think you really have to be, I mean, like anything, but specifically for Kristin Hannah books, like in the right mood to read them. And I originally, well, of course you remember this, it wasn't that long ago, but it was like 3 days before we were supposed to originally film this episode. And I was like, I haven't even opened the book yet. I was like, well, guess I better get started. And like, maybe we could just like push book club back a week or so. And I ended up reading the entire thing in like under 24 hours because I was binging it. And it's,
who would have thought it would have been pushed back that long anyway?
I know. I'm like, now it didn't even matter because other things conspired against us. But now you're getting a book club. Yay. It's going to be like 2 hours long. Yeah. I think there was just so many different perspectives of like the tenacity of the human spirit shown in so many different ways. And like, I am never going to say that, you know, we need more books that are like sympathetic to Nazis or anything, but I think having the Nazis themselves to be like different types of people and like having them on spectrums of, you know, some of them are just here because they don't have a choice not to be, and others of them are legitimately evil and like reveling in their ability to like make everybody else miserable as like some kind of power trip was really interesting, because obviously there was a spectrum too for all of the French citizens who were just getting dumped into this situation. So
I think it's just like the duality of human nature and how two things can be true at once, and juxtaposing and juggling these different people and different emotions, and how you can have differing emotional responses to the same thing and feel two things at once and be trying to navigate your way through that in the moment of this horrific thing. Like, I just think she really handled that well and really brought you into all of the emotions, and there were a lot. And so I think that's a testament to how well she is at developing characters and writing things like this.
Yeah. And she, you can tell, does such intense research into like each one of her books. And I think it showed through, because you're really, I get annoyed with historical fiction sometimes that like gets too like fact dumpy, whereas I feel like she was really able to like weave so much information into these narratives as opposed to just being like, here is what happened. The year was 1944. Like, yeah, she's just a fantastic author. Definitely a win. So let us know what you guys thought as you were reading this, since you clearly know we had a lot of thoughts.
We're like, this episode won't be very long because it's been so long since we read the book.
And if you,
the longest one yet.
If you've read other Kristin Hannah books, give us recs for what your favorites are.
Yeah.
And what?
Because obviously we're both great alone, so.
Mm-hmm.
What are you?
We're alone. How about you guys? And yeah, we will be back. We're probably going to slow down on our episode posting schedule a bit for the summer, but our next book club, do we want to say?
That's my drums. Our next book club, which was originally for May and will now be for June.
So you get some extra weeks.
You get some extra time. Is Direbound by Sable Sorensen, which we obviously did originally in May because Furybound was coming out. But it doesn't matter. We're just pushing it back, and it's for June now. I've actually read this, so it'll be a reread for me. One of my top books of last year. I absolutely loved it. Hannah has not read it. I'm very interested to see what Hannah will think, because for me, I read it at the perfect moment, and it was very vibes heavy, and I loved it. I do not know, reading it now, if it would be 5 stars for me again, but last year, it was 5 stars. I can't wait.
Maybe, I mean, it's slightly different than the Nightingale in terms of seriousness. Direbound's a romantasy. I hear it compared very often to Fourth Wing, but with direwolves instead of dragons in terms of like vibe. So sounds like something I'd like.
Yeah, I think you'll like it. I don't know if you'll like it as much as I did, but I don't know if when I reread it now, I don't know if I would give it 5 stars again, but
are you planning on rereading it?
Possibly.
Because you're reading Furybound now.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
You're like, I'm going to kind of tandem read, but it's not the same timelines.
Yeah, we'll see what with you. You never know what I'm going to do.
That's true. Bree keeps them guessing.
Anyway, yeah, so that is our book for next month. I'm excited.
Thanks for hanging out. Hopefully I will edit some of this down so that you're not sitting with us for several years.
There's a lot of stuff we're going to edit out.
And we will catch you guys next time.
Catch you on the flip side.
Okay. Bye, guys. That's it for today's episode of Chapter Chats. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Chapter Chats Pod.
And you can find me, Bree, at Brazen and Bookish on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
And you can find me, Hannah, at Bookshelvish on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Substack.
Or you can email us at chapterchatspod@gmail.com with book recommendations, episode ideas, or just to say hi.
And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review, follow, and subscribe on your favorite platform.
Catch you next chapter.